Hi everyone, I'm Dorothy. Welcome back to my thriving YouTube channel. I call myself a bad environmentalist. I'm trying to make it work where other people call me that because my catchline, but it's not working, but that's just what I call myself. I'm a sustainability channel, but kind of a half-ass one because I rarely upload and I'm kind of shit at it, hence the bad environmentalist. Today I'm actually wearing full clothing instead of just, which would indicate that I don't wear usually clothing. I do usually wear clothing, but usually it's sweats of some kind. So here's my outfit. Lovely. This is the part, because I'm a sustainability channel, that I would say my shirt is foraged from the secondhand markets where it used to belong to a movie actress who got it vintage from a 1800s French market. And my pants were handcrafted by fairies in a German forest. They weren't. They're both fast fashion, and I got them a couple years ago, and I got them both on sale. Anyway, but they're both fast fashion, and the ones I'm re-wearing. So, welcome. Let's get cozy. I want to talk about today Snowpiercer and why I hate it so much. It's a show on Netflix, if you haven't heard about it, which is understandable because there's been a lot going on, but it's a show on Netflix and it's doing very well, and I just think we should talk about it. And it's a secondary show. It's the prequel, I think, to the 2014 movie with Chris Evans of the same name, Snowpiercer. And I just think we should chat about it because, and why I dislike it so much. And you may be asking, why do we need to hear your opinion on this, Dorothy? You don't. I just have an inflated sense of self-worth and think I should share this with everyone. So let's get started. It's a show, obviously on Netflix. There's a TV series that came out this year. 2014 was the movie release, and it follows the world of a train. That sounds like Tom's the Train. No, it doesn't follow the train. Well, it does follow the train. So it's in this world, which is assumed to be our future at some point, where people, the last of humanity, is living on this constantly moving train. And why they're living on a train is because there was climate mitigation years before that in order to combat climate change and global warming, they set off like a climate mitigation something to make it colder, but it ended up like going wrong and putting them into an ice age. Hence why everyone popped onto the train and it's moving, and like that's the last thing. This is the last thing of humanity because everyone else died. And it follows the life of, so the train, I think in theory it's like 1,000 cars long, but in the movies it looks more like 20. But in theory it's like 1,000 car long train. And the story focuses on the people, the tail enders, I think they're called, the tailors or something, the people at the very back of the train. And like, you see that they're living, it's like a very hard life. They're living in poverty. They're all cramped together. It's dark. I'm sure this is like a movie, like a film, a costuming choice, but it's very dark. They're all wearing dark clothes. Everyone's just struggling to survive. And so the TV show is the prequel to the movie. And so the TV show takes place 7 years after everyone boards the train, 7 years after the world ends and everyone hops on the train to survive. And then the movie takes place, I think it's like 17 years after, so 10 years after the TV series, essentially. So in both of the TV series and the movie, it follows the people at the very back of the train, one living in poverty. The tail enders, they're sick, a bunch of things happen, a couple of their kids, yeah, so every once in a while they have visits from people at the front, and I think that's Jennifer Connelly in the TV series, but the people at the front, they're always very well dressed, they're always very in control, they come back to give instructions. They also come back to take their children. So they come back to the end of the train to take the children of the tail enders and take them up to somewhere because they need them. And they come back to give them food, and all they have to eat is these like little protein bars that are kind of like jelly and purple, and they look kind of gross. So you know that there are other people on the train, but the tail enders are stuck in the back and they're not allowed to leave by the people at the front, essentially is how we start out. So throughout the course of the movie, the tail enders start to revolt and move their way to the front of the train. And that is the synopsis of the movie, I guess, is that they're moving to the front of the train. And as you go to the front, they're met with resistance, they're met with violence, they're trying to make their way up, but they're met with like squads of people. There's a lot of gory scenes there where people's limbs are getting chopped off. It's a lot. Anyway, so they're gradually moving their way up to the train, and as they get to the front, they start to see that not everyone on the train is living like them. That not everyone is living in this poverty and, getting children taken away and living on these bars. They see that, like, there's actually, like, a sustainable food system inside the train, that there's, like, an entire car full of fish that they're, raising to eat. There's an entire greenhouse train. Car. There's like an entire, there's all these different micro food systems in different cars, and there's so much food, which is contrast why they're eating these little protein bars when there's so much food on the train as they move forward. And then as they keep going forward, they run into different people, and all these people are shocked. They're obviously wealthy, or they appear wealthy. They're better taken care of. They're very clean. The colors start to get more and more bright. The children, they pass a schoolroom, children are learning about, like, the history of the train and the history of the world. So as you move forward, it gets more opulent. People are more relaxed. They're not fighting each other for food. They're not, no one's coming in to control them at all. And then you get to the front of the train, and there's only one guy left, and Chris Evans, confronts the conductor of the train and says, like, hey man, not cool. And then you find out that the conductor, this is like his train. He's the engineer behind it all those years ago. And so Chris Evans makes it to the front of the train, and Bro decides to offer Chris Evans, like, the job of being the new conductor and controlling the entire train, which is his job. And Chris Evans, like, debates it, and then someone comes in and kills him. Anyway, so that's kind of like the synopsis. You're welcome. I'm sure that was very enlightening. Then you kind of wonder why the people in the back are living in such poverty and such, like, harsh conditions, and why they're being controlled by the people in the front. If there's so much food, if people in the front are living like that, if people, there's just such a disparity. And I don't think, okay, given that we're halfway through the explanation, you could probably guess this is a giant metaphor for how life is. People at the front of the train are, like, the global south countries. People at the back of the train are people at the front of the global north countries. People on the back are the global south countries. It's a giant metaphor. It's also a metaphor for how climate change is going to affect different groups of people. So the story behind, as the story moves forward in the movie, you learn from the conductor. So once Chris Evans makes it to the front, him and the conductor are having a chat before the conductor gets killed. And you find out that the conductor's quite angry with the people at the back, the tailenders, because he created this train. He designed it. He spent years and years designing it. And he sold tickets for people to get on the train. He sold spaces in, preparation for what was going to come. And he sold all these tickets to people who could afford them, obviously, the people at the front of the train. So these were people who had money before, who could afford to get tickets to be on this train just in case something happened. And you also learn that the way the tailenders got on the train was they rushed in. They were, the world was literally ending, and they crammed in as fast as they could. They were getting on as, like, the world was getting colder. Like, it was a split second decision, and all these people ran into the end of the train, and that's how they survived the ice age outside, but other people didn't. And that's actually, like, a strong metaphor for climate refugees and what might happen in the future. Like, climate change and capitalism are totally there. I won't get into that, but, like, climate change, there's just so many, like, the fact that people with more wealth in the world are going to benefit is a very scary reality. And global north people are going to be, okay. They're not going to be the ones affected by the effects of climate change. The people in the global south and the countries with less wealth and the people with less wealth, they're the ones that are going to get affected. They're the ones who are living close to shorelines, whereas rising sea levels occur, they're the ones going to have to move. They're the ones, like, they're already dealing with essentially. Like, a couple of years ago, Canada sent a massive cargo box full of trash, and they were sending it to the Philippines, I think, and the Philippines decided not to take it because that's actually if you didn't know, that's actually very common in North America, is for us to send our trash to other countries, for other smaller countries to deal with. It's literally awful. so it takes off pressure over landfills. Like, that is actually happening, and the Philippines said no, we don't want it, and it sat in a harbor for, I think it was 5 years. It took so long for Canada to take its trash back, and we finally did at some, I think it was a year or two ago, but we finally did. Anyway, like, smaller countries with less political power, with less wealth, I suppose, are already facing these like awful things that are happening. If you watch The True Cost on Netflix, surrounding the fast fashion industry, you'll see that smaller countries and countries with less global wealth, they get all these clothes, all these fast fashion clothes that people don't want, all this clothing trash gets pushed upon them, and they're overwhelmed with the amount of trash from global north countries or countries that are wealthier and can afford to just push their trash onto other people. It's, oh god, it's, you could tell it gets me a little fired up. But this is already happening where people with countries with less money have to deal with climate change effects and sustainability effects that global north countries just don't want to deal with. And so in that way, it's like both, it's like, oh god, it's just such a big convoluted metaphor. I can't even handle it. Anyway, so it really talks about climate and climate change and climate refugees and the effects of climate change in like a very interesting way, by putting the entire world onto a train, essentially, kind of. So that's Snowpiercer, and that is what's happening. And now they're making, so that's the movie, and you get like a broader, like, it tells like the whole story of the world in that movie. The TV series is obviously going a little slower, delving deeper into different parts of it. Again, I haven't watched it. The movie made me super emotional. I do not like violence, watching TV shows with a lot of violence. My sister says because people with anxiety like to rewatch the same things over and over again, which makes so much more sense why I watch Pride and Prejudice probably 3 times a month, like on the dot. Why I've seen that movie literally so many times. Makes so much sense. There's like nothing that happens in that. It's just like a gentle movie. It makes a lot of sense now, retrospectively. Oh yeah, I made this video to explain why I hate Snowpiercer so much. I hate it because it's so freaking scary and insightful, and it's just like, it's such a smart, like, it just makes you like think, like, it's just terrifying to think about it, and it genuinely it's like such a smart show, it's such a smart series. It's so like obviously a metaphor for what's happening and what's gonna happen, and it's just like the irony of it being released like right now with everything that's going on, when you see all these memes of people saying eat the rich, and people are home and they're not making any money, and this is going to become a like fucking trillionaire soon. Like, it's just like the iron, like the timing of it coming out at this time, because I think it was cast, let me see, it was cast in 2017. I think they started filming in 2018. So like, it's just like, and they're probably filming season 2 right now, or they probably already have, but like it's just crazy that like the timing of this. Anyway, so I have a love-hate relationship, but that is Snowpiercer. If you want a really rambly synopsis of the show, don't do a peace sign dot. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope you and your families are doing okay with everything going on. Please stay safe. Wear a mask. And thank you very much for watching. Okay, bye.